What is up? The Leafs Convo is back in business for July 16th, 2020. I'm Norm, along with Mike. Long time no talk, Mr. Augello. The 24-team tournament, the 24-team experiment is like 2 weeks away. Are you ready?
Good afternoon, Norm. Yes, I'm quite ready. Been following and covering the training camp or summer camp, as they're calling it, at the Ford Performance Center. The Leafs are getting ramped up towards an exhibition game and the first round or play-in round against Columbus. And I think everybody who is jonesing for hockey will be very excited to see, even though there won't be any fans, they'll be very excited to see it at the beginning of August.
What are you expecting to see when the puck drops?
It's good. I think it's going to be a little rough because in spite of the fact that they've been in phase two since probably going back to last month, and phase three of training camp since July 13th, it's not game conditions. They're going to be going into one exhibition game, which I would highly doubt that they're going to play everybody. I wouldn't doubt that they maybe sit a guy like a Tavares or Matthews for fear of them potentially getting hurt, or, split the goaltenders. It would be like a preseason game. I don't think Montreal is going to go sort of balls out, and I don't think the Leafs are going to do that as well, because the game doesn't really count. Mm-hmm. But it's just going to be try to get up to speed. But I think when we see playoff competition, that motor will get going, but the hands might not be there. So I think it could be some, messy looking hockey for a while.
One preseason game, one game to get tuned up, and then it's a 3 of 5. All of the anticipation for what could be a very, very tight, compacted, and quick in or out, Mike. When are we may not see hockey at its most elite until the 4th and 5th round, and at that point it'll be up to 4 teams, then 2, to show us that this entire thing has value. That's the risk, that's the reward, and that's the interesting part of this entire thing. We've never gone down this road before, and you're having players who've had so much time off, then back into business and in and out really quickly. It's going to be interesting to see the caliber of play and just how good it is, how fast.
Yeah, it's not a perfect scenario, and there's going to be some rough patches, but the NHL has tried to adapt to what the realities are. They had to go into hub cities. They have to have a compacted schedule because they need to get this done, by the beginning of October, with the anticipation of potentially a second wave of COVID-19. We don't know if that's going to happen, but everybody's anticipating that. And if that happens, there's going to be a draft in early October after the final. The free agency will start the second week of October, and then by November 17th, they'll be back at training camp.
That's amazing.
That's the reality.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's the reality.
So there's lots of hockey to come. This tournament thing is just going to be crazy and experimental, fun, frustrating. This is the Leafs Convo podcast, still presented proudly by Oak Ridge Ford. Corey Parrish wishing us a great show in community. He boldly predicts the Leafs will handle Columbus. Matthias Viovi, new to the convo, new to the community, letting us know that he is here. Blues Guy says this is his favorite show of the week. Just like hockey, there's not much happening in the Leafs Convo world. So many podcasts, a lot of writers and broadcasters and people attached to the game have had their worlds shaken up and depleted the same way professional sports have had over the last 3, 4, 5 months. I don't even know how long it's been, Mike. I'm kind of numb to it all. I don't know if the tournament to come will be cathartic, but I think once the puck drops and that first goal goes in and that first intermission has come and gone, I have a feeling people are really, really going to gravitate to whatever the hell we're going to get. And hockey in any which way or form is better than no hockey, and we've had nothing for so long.
Well, it's sort of going from the frying pan into the fire, because essentially, once we get through the exhibition games, and it'll be one for each team, that day one, I think it's 4 or 5 games on that first day. Yeah. The Leafs will play on day 2, and they'll get the 8:00 primetime slot. But it's going to be a packed schedule. I mean, they're playing the first 4 games, if it goes that far, of the series against Columbus between August 2nd and August 7th. So four games in 5 days.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be, and now these players are rested because they've been off for most of the 4 months since the league shut down. So, they'll be full of energy, and I'm sure that will be reflected on the ice. But it's going to be now a sprint, because now it's a 2-month situation where you're going to have to win 19 games to win a Stanley Cup, and that's going to be tough.
This is the Leafs Convo podcast for Oak Ridge Ford. Give us a shout out in community. Leave a comment below this post. Let us know you're alive. Like the podcast on YouTube. Subscribe. Tell your friends. Mike and I are about to ramp things up. It's been a couple of weeks since we last collabed, but we reflect what's going on. Trust me, the Leafs Convo is alive and well and kicking big time. And as the tournament unfolds and gets more intense, the Leafs Convo will reflect that action. But we want to hear from you. Let us know you're out there. Let us know you're alive. Let us know that you still care about the Leafs Convo podcast. We feed off your energy, and we give that energy back to you. So Nathan MacKinnon, Ryan O'Reilly, and the exalted St. Matthews, Austin Matthews, all nominated for the Lady Byng. I think those are appropriate nominees, guys who just go out and just get it done statistically and don't F around too much with a lot of the other bullshit. Nice to see those guys nominated. I've never really given a shit about the Lady Byng Award unless Alexander McGillney wins it. But now you've got Austin Matthews in the mix. That's a nice little nod for him. But that's the kind of guy who also wins Rocket Richard trophies, Art Ross trophies, and Hart trophies too. Down the line for sure.
Yeah, the Lady Byng, I was talking about this on the Buzzcast today. The Lady Byng is almost a consolation prize for somebody who doesn't get nominated for the Hart. And I don't think with the competition of Draisaitl and McDavid and a few others that Matthews was going to get a Hart Trophy nomination, but he scored 47 goals, one less than the winner of the Rocket Richard and Pasternak. So it's or Ovechkin. I'm not sure which one, but it was 48, and then two were tied at 47. So it was a pretty tight race. But he only had 8 penalty minutes, and O'Reilly had 12, and MacKinnon had 10. So we're talking about players that don't take a lot of penalties and get a lot of attention from the opposing top checker. And I think Matthews is deserving of the award, or deserving of the nomination. Now, in terms of whether he's going to win or not, I know I saw a lot of chatter about the off the ice problems that he had during the off season last summer, which
because
most people
because he's perfect,
right,
Mike. That's the thing. Like, these guys are they're in a bubble. They're perfect. They can't do anything that is untoward or may be considered a mistake, and they can rectify and make amends for. They're perfect, Mike. Don't forget.
Well, most people have forgotten about it, but of course, people bring it up, and
of course they do.
The award was for gentlemanly conduct. So but I believe it's on the ice, not off the ice. And like I said, he didn't get charged. It was dismissed. It was taken care of. I think we were all sort of past that. So should that be a factor in whether he wins or doesn't win the award? No, but does it really matter if he wins the award? No, I think he just gets recognition for having a great season. And maybe in the future he wins a Hart Trophy, but 47 goals, and he's going to be the leader of this team in terms of them going far in the playoffs if they do. So it was a good acknowledgement for Austin Matthews.
It'll be interesting to see how the lines come together, if it's a continuation of what Sheldon Keefe had thrown out there prior to the shutdown, or, will he see something in training camp and that one exhibition game, that one tune-up against the Habs that will have him throw everything into the cooker and just mix it up again. Mike, I was watching a Blue Jays inter-squad game on Sportsnet the other day. Unbelievably riveting. My wife had it on. She loves baseball. We're both baseball guys. I played in college and professionally, so when there's baseball on, I'm just going to watch. I actually like when pitchers dominate the game, and I know our listeners either don't like baseball or want to see the big hits. But it was interesting and obviously unique and odd to watch these two inter-squad teams battle it out in front of nobody except for a few of the players who weren't in the contest behind the batter's box in the front row with masks on. Get used to it, I guess.
Yeah, it's going to be weird. I've watched some Yankees summer camp stuff on the Yes Network, and I've seen a few other teams and highlights of a few other teams as well. It's going to be weird. It's going to be weird for us watching games in the Stanley Cup playoffs with no fans. But what might even be more weird for the Blue Jays is the fact that they might not be able to play at Rogers Center if the Canadian government doesn't change the rules, because other teams coming in would have to quarantine. So there's been talk here in Buffalo that the Blue Jays might play at Salem Field for the entire year. So we don't know what's going on there, but thankfully the Canadian government gave the NHL a waiver for the bubble, for the hub cities, excuse me, and it seems that they have a handle on what's going on. And, hopefully, we don't have too many things pop up in terms of positives, and, we get a good contest with most of the players being available. And I think that's, let's just say this. I think anybody who wins the Stanley Cup doesn't want to have an asterisk next to it. They don't want another team to have the excuse of saying, well, you didn't beat me sort of fair and square because David Pastrnak was not in the lineup. I think everybody wants to, and I think that the whole situation where the players wanted 7-game series, they don't want an asterisk. They're going to go through all this to earn a Stanley Cup, and they want it to be a Stanley Cup that is a meaningful Stanley Cup.
Just play. You have a choice. If you don't want to play, forfeit, for God's sake. Just play. Do it. This is what it is now, Mike. This pandemic has changed the game. And this is what it is. Play it, win it, move on. There's a draft, there will be training camp, and there will be another modified season to come. What do you want to do? Just sit and watch? Or do you want to play? A couple more points and we'll get out of here.
Mm-hmm. Just to touch on what you were talking about in terms of line combos, it appears that Sheldon Keefe is going with familiarity, which is smart. He reunited the line of Hyman, Matthews, and Nylander. He has Ilya Mikheyev playing with Tavares and Marner. The third line, what you consider a checking line, is Engvall, Kerfoot, and Kapanen. And the fourth line is two veteran guys in Clifford and Jason Spezza playing on the wings, in between Freddie Gauthier. Defensive pairings pretty much the same: Muzzin-Hall, Riley Ceci, and Travis Dermott and Tyson Berry. So I think that it's smart to rely on pairings and lines that played together before. Everybody wants to see Nick Robertson. I mean, of course they do, but it's an 18-year-old kid who had a great year, and you're not going to throw him into a Stanley Cup playoff situation. So I would highly doubt, at least to start the playoffs, he's going to get a look. But maybe down the line, if they go deep and there are some injuries, maybe he gets a chance.
Yeah. The Nick Robertson watch is on amongst a certain group of fans. The rest are more interested in just watching a puck drop and anyone being on the ice to contest it. Hey, Mike, you have to think that these guys, the players, are, never mind either being rusty or feeling like they're in a surreal situation compared to what they know, will have a difficult time playing a game without 19,000 rabid, screaming, lunatic, drunken fans cheering them on. You have to believe that it's going to be a bit of a shock for them, and it's not going to be the same.
No, it's weird because I heard, and this is talking about a different sport, but I think it's applicable. I heard Mark Teixeira talk about, how players are sort of, sometimes they're driven by, the fans cheering or booing, and that it's going to be weird and different for baseball players in a situation where they're up at the plate to not have that crowd noise. It'll be a little disconcerting to start because they're used to everybody screaming and yelling when they're up at the plate. And it's probably going to be the same thing for these players, as they cross the blue line, you hear that crescendo of the fans, the excitement as you're coming in for a scoring chance. And it'll take a little getting used to for those players to not hear that. And maybe it'll distract them a little bit, but I think they'll get used to it fairly quickly.
Could they not milk that sound, though, add it just for fun? I mean, it's not really going to affect the broadcast at all. Do you think it's something that the players would entertain or maybe even have requested?
There is talk of the league sort of pumping in sound. I know that the English Premier League has done that in terms of their broadcast. I'm not sure what they're going to do, but there may be some sort of effort to make it just not a bland, silent situation. I'm sure there's going to be goal songs and music in between whistles. So, there'll be something, but obviously you can't mimic what 19,000 fans will do.
Well, it's either Welcome to the Jungle on loop or anything from April Wine.
You make my dreams come true. I'm sure the Leaf fans will hope to hear that a lot, but not really me because I'm sick of that song.
Mike, tell us what you're up to and where we can support you.
Well, just writing daily, doing updates of on training camp at Hockey Buzz, and it's a weird situation for media members because even if you're at the Ford Performance Center, you're not getting the face-to-face access that we normally do. So everybody's on an equal playing field in terms of what the quotes they're getting from the different players and from Sheldon Keefe, who's held media availabilities every day. Let me just say one thing quickly here. Yesterday, Paul Hendrick, the longtime host on Leafs TV, in-game host or in between periods host, he basically announced his retirement. His wife is ill. Yeah. And I just have to say, in all the 8 or 9 years that I've had access with the Marlies and the Leafs, there has been no greater gentleman and no greater, professional than Paul Hendrick. He's always been helpful to me, and I just wish him all the best.
And our 6 degrees of separation with Henny, I was one of his successors at CHCH doing sports. So it was him and Ken Welsh. I'm sure you would remember that, Mike, being located so close to Southwestern Ontario and the Golden Horseshoe. I worked in Hamilton for 2 years. I started out as a videographer there and then did the nightly sportscast. And one of the things that stuck out to me about what I was doing, and one of the things that impressed me in the most humble of ways, was that I was on the same set that Paul Hendricks was. So I wish him nothing but the best. The guy's unbelievable class act, and he's doing what's right in his heart, and we hope things turn out for him, and then perhaps maybe at some point we might see him back on television where he belongs. Just wanted to mention that the podcast is still sponsored by Oak Ridge Ford. That is my place of employment. I'm a longtime broadcaster. I did the last sportscast in the history of London, Ontario, and that was in 2017. Since then, doing a lot of stuff. I've worked at Oak Ridge Ford for the past year and a bit. July is ongoing. We're coming off the biggest month, June, the biggest month in the history of the dealership in terms of sales. We keep on going on at Norm at Oak Ridge Ford on Facebook, at the Leafs Convo on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. Mike's on Instagram. We are everywhere. Rest assured, converts and OGs, the Leafs Convo lives on. And we haven't done much lately, but we are going to progress along with hockey, and we're going to be right there, literally doing things every second day as this 2014 tournament/experiment unfolds. For Mike, I'm Norm. The Leafs Convo is out.